Well, I'm going to read you a little of it anyway, if that's okay. Brandon asked me about this just a little while ago, and I haven't had time to really look, but I think we've got about 10 minutes. This is from the prologue, and the prophet's fingers bit dirt, tearing trenches in the soil as he scrambled up to the top of the forested hillside. His followers straggled behind, so few, but he would rebuild. The glory of the dragon reborn followed him, and no matter where he went, he found willing souls. Those with hearts that were pure, those who had hands that burned to destroy the shadow. Yes, think not of the past, think of the future, when the Lord Dragon would rule all of the land, when men would be subject only to him and to his prophet beneath him. Those days would be glorious indeed, days when none would dare scorn the prophet or deny his will, days when the prophet wouldn't have to suffer the indignity of living near the very camp, the very one, as shadow spawned like that creature Ibarra. Glorious days were coming. It was difficult to keep his thoughts on those future glories. The world around him was filthy. Men denied the dragon and sought the shadow. Even his own followers, yes, that must have been why they had fallen. That must have been why so many died when assaulting the city of Malden and its dark friend Ideal. The prophet had been so certain. He had assumed that the dragon would protect his people, lead them to a powerful victory. Then the prophet would finally have gotten his wish. He could have killed Perrin and Baron with his own hands, twist that too-thick bull's neck in his fingers, twist it around, squeezing, feeling the bones crack, the flesh ring, the breath stop. The prophet reached the top of the ridge and brushed the dirt from his fingers. He breathed in and out, scanning around him, underbrush rustling as his few remaining followers climbed up toward him. The canopy was dense overhead, and very little sunlight peeked through. Light, radiant light. The dragon had appeared to him the night before the attack, appeared in glory, a figure of light glowing in the air in shimmering robes. Kill Perrin Barrow, the dragon had commanded. Kill him! And so the prophet had sent his very best tool, Ebarra's own dear friend. That boy, that tool, had failed. Aram was dead. The prophet's men had confirmed it. Tragedy. Was that why they had not prospered? Was that why, out of his thousands of followers, he now had only a bare handful? No. They must have turned against him, secretly worshipping the shadow. Aram, dark friend. That was why he had failed. The first of his followers, battered, dirtied, bloodied, exhausted, reached the top of the ridge. They wore threadbare clothing that did not set them above others, the clothing of simplicity and goodness. The prophet counted them all, fewer than 100, so few. This cursed forest was so dark, despite the daylight. Thick trunks stood shoulder to shoulder, and the sky overhead had grown dim with cloud cover. The underbrush of thin-branched, boneweed shrubs matted together, forming an almost unnatural barrier, and those shrubs scratched like claws on his skin. With that underbrush and the sharp earthen bank, the army could not follow this way. Though the prophet had escaped from Ebarra's camp barely an hour before, he already felt safe. They would go north, where Ebarra and his dark friends would not find them. There the prophet could rebuild. He had stayed with Ebarra only because his followers had been strong enough to keep Ebarra's dark friends away. His dear followers, brave men and true, every one, killed by dark friends. He mourned them, bowing his head and muttering a prayer. His followers joined him. They were weary, but the light of zeal shone in their eyes. Any who were weak or who lacked dedication had fled or been killed long ago. These were the best, the mightiest, the most faithful. Each one had killed many dark friends in the name of the dragon reborn. With them he could rebuild. But first he had to escape Ebarra. The prophet was too weak now to face him, but later, yes, fingers on that neck, yes. The prophet could remember a time when he'd been called something else, Masema. Those days were growing very blurry to him, like memories from a former life. Indeed, just as all men were reborn into the pattern, so had Masema been reborn. He had cast off his old profane life and had become the prophet. The last of his followers joined him atop the cliff face. He spat at their feet. They had failed him, cowards. They should have fought better. He should have been able to win that city. He turned north and pushed his way forward. This landscape was growing familiar to him. "Hello, Massimo," a quiet voice said. He hissed, spinning, his followers bunching around him and pulling out weapons. Swords for some, knives, quarterstaffs, and the occasional polearm. The prophet scanned the dim afternoon clearing, searching for the one who had spoken. He found her, standing on a little outcrop of rock a short distance away, a woman with a prominent Saldean nose, slightly tilted eyes, and shoulder-length black hair. She wore green, with skirts divided for riding, her arms folded in front of her. Fail Ebara, wife of the shadow spawn, Perine Ebara. "Take her," the prophet screamed, pointing. Several of his followers scrambled forward, but most hesitated. They had seen what he had not. Shadows in the forest, behind Ebara's wife, a half circle of them. They were the shapes of men, with bows pointed at the clearing. Fail waved with a sharp motion, and the arrows flew. Those of his followers who had run at his bidding fell first, crying out in the silent forest before falling to the loamy earth. The prophet bellowed, each arrow seeming to pierce his own heart. His beloved followers, his friends, his dear brothers. An arrow slammed into him, throwing him backward to the ground. Around him men died, just as they had earlier. Why? Why hadn't the dragon protected them? Why? Suddenly the horror of it all returned to him. The sinking terror of watching his men fall in waves, and watching them die at the hands of those dark friend Ahio. It was Perine Ebara's fault. If only the prophet had seen earlier, back in the early days, before he'd even recognized the Lord Dragon for who he was. "It's my fault," the prophet whispered, as the last of his followers died. It had taken several arrows to stop some of them. That made him proud. Slowly he forced himself back to his feet, hand to his shoulder, where the shaft sprouted. He'd lost too much blood. Dizzy, he fell to his knees. Fail stepped down off her stone and entered the clearing. Two women wearing trousers followed. They looked concerned, but Fail ignored their protests that she stay back. She walked right up to the prophet, then slid her knife from her belt. It was a fine blade, with a cast hilt that showed a wolf's head. That was well. Looking at it, the prophet remembered the day when he'd earned his own blade, the day his father had given it him. "Thank you for helping to assault Morden, Massimo," Fayo said, stopping right in front of him. Then she reached up and rammed that knife into his heart. He fell backward, his own blood hot on his chest. "Sometimes a wife must do what her husband cannot," he heard Fayo say. Fayo tell her women, as his eyes fluttered, trying to close. "It is a dark thing we did this day, but necessary. Let no one speak of it to my husband. He must never know." Her voice grew distant. The prophet fell. Massimo, that had been his name. He'd earned his sword on his 15th birthday. His father had been so proud. "It's over then," he thought, unable to keep his eyes open. He closed them, falling as if through an endless void. Did I do well, Father, or did I fail? There was no answer, and he joined with the boy, tumbling into an endless sea of blackness. I like this as a prologue.